Okay, guys, it looks like we are going to go ahead and go over 3.1i. I decided to do a video on this because I just figured it would be easier as a review. So some of us are still struggling with uh, I don't know why that's struggling to do that. Some of us are still struggling with graphing, so this will be good review for the old stuff and the new stuff with equations. So really quick, let's just review. When we solve systems of equations by graphing, graphing is really just the work, guys. The ordered pair that you get at the end is the answer. So we have three options. You could have a graph where you graph and you have lines that you graph and they intersect. Okay? This has one place where they intersect. It's right here, and that would give us one solution. Okay, so I would write down that ordered pair as the solution. So let's just call this 0, 1. Okay, that's one option. The second option is that you have a graph, and you graph, and your lines don't cross anywhere. They're parallel. There are no points that they're going to have in common like the one we did up here. And so we're going to call that no solution, as in they don't cross anywhere. No, they do not cross. And the final option that you guys have if you have to graph is one where you have a graph, you graph both lines, and when you're done, both lines are actually the same line. Well, every single place on here intersects that other line. So we call this infinite solutions. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some examples. I'm going to do number 2 just because number 1 is pretty straightforward. So number 2, my very first equation I have here is a y-intercept of 6. So I look at my graph and you guys freak out because, oh my God, Magruder, you didn't give us enough space. Remember, if you label your graph appropriately, you shouldn't have to run out of space. So on the y-axis, I'm going to count by 2's so that right there is the 6. Okay, my slope is negative 3, 1, which means from this point I need to go down 3 into the right 1. Well, be careful when you do this. This space right here is actually 2, so 3 is actually down 1 and a half, and over 1 puts me right here. So if I wanted to do it again, down there's 1, down the 2, that's 3, and over 1, that would put me right here. Okay, and then I would go ahead and I would graph that line. And that would give me that graph. Okay, so get another color here. This equation right here has the y-intercept of a negative 4, so 2, 4, there's a negative 4. This one's nice though, it has a slope of 2, 1, so up 2 is just the 1, because remember we're counting by 2, so up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So if I graph that one, it looks like this. And that ordered pair right there is the answer. So don't forget, you're not done when you get there. You actually have to write the ordered pair. So the ordered pair is 2, 0. Okay? So on this side, you're going to do the whole side. Notice down here that you need to talk about consistent, inconsistent, dependent, and independent. Remember, if you don't have those, those are with these in your notes from 3.1. So look in your 3.1 note handout. We went over all of those things. I want to look at, excuse me, one other option, and that's when the equation is not in a nice pretty y equals mx plus b form. So let's look at example, well, we can look at example 1. It doesn't matter. So on example 1, this right here is not in y equals mx plus b form, so we actually need to put it in y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to do x minus 2y equals 0, and we're going to solve for y. So I need to move x, so it's a positive x, so I'm going to subtract x. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and divide by a -2 because it's being multiplied. And remember, this right here is really like a 1 right there. So two negatives are going to make a positive, and that's going to be 1/2 x. Okay, so if I graph that, that has a y-intercept of 0 because there's nothing there, and an up 1 and over 2. So up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And if I graph that line, this is what I get. Okay? Then I have this right here, and I have a -3, 1, 2, 3. And my slope is 2 over 1, so I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and I could keep doing that as many times as I need to. And again, I highly recommend you use a ruler, straight edge, because it makes those lines nice and straight, because then it's quite easy to see that the ordered pair is right here. So my answer is 2, 1. So if I had to solve this algebraically, x and y for both of these equations would both be 2 and 1, and they would both come up to be the same answer. So you're also going to do this entire sheet, and you shouldn't have homework though. You have all class period to work on it, and it's review. So I will be around to answer questions and do all that good stuff if need be. So raise your hand, make sure you ask, and the video is just here to help multiply me as far as help. So